What's up, friends, and welcome into Betting Pros. It is the college football preview show for Week 10. I am Chris Welsh, and look at those two beautiful faces. They are back in action, at least on the Wednesday edition. It is Thor Nystrom, Thor KU on the Twitter, Mike Farrell, M Farrell Sports with two L's. They are back together on this show, but Bogman isn't because he's out here with me in Phoenix. World Series for me yesterday, World Series for him today. God knows what happens when this show posts if we do some more, but we're talking about some CFF, some action going on as we're recording this, some snowball action. Everything is going down. Thor, it's good to have you back on the Wednesday seat here, my friend.
It's great to be here. Yeah, and like you're mentioning, Maction on. There's a blizzard going on. Classic Maction. It feels like college football is ramping up now to the home stretch. So feeling good.
Mike, how are we feeling after Week 9? How did it treat us?
Good. I know Thor's happy about the Kansas win, and a lot of Oklahoma fans are very unhappy. But we got some serious. We're gonna have some serious Lance Leopold interest, Thor. I hate to break it to you, man. They better,
come on.
They better back up the Brinks
Farrell,
truck.
don't gaslight me this early into the episode, please.
By the way, can we talk about, we talked about this off air. Can we talk about, Thor, you were excited. I was at the World Series. Can we talk about the guy that was behind home plate that had the "it wasn't a fair catch" sign behind it? You got to love that guy. That guy's a hero.
The man's a legend. Yeah. And bringing awareness to one of the core issues facing our society today. Was it a fair catch or was it not a fair catch at Cooper DeJean? It certainly was not.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been called. Iowa should have won that game.
It
but,
wasn't.
You know,
I agree,
shout out to
but
that guy.
they lost that game, and now Brian Ferentz is gone. So, I mean, really, it was probably the right call for the long-term success of the
It was also,
Say-
by the way, it was appropriate
say
because it was one of the worst World Series games in a long time with some of the worst calls of all time. So it's just like appropriate. We have all that, but no big deal. Not a jolted Diamondbacks fan talking here or anything like that. Let's talk about the week. We got a bunch of games. We got 10 games for you, some televised action. Let's see where the bets are for our Week 10 preview. Let's kick this bad boy off as we go to Texas. Kansas State going up against Texas. Longhorns are a 4-point favorite. Cash and tickets are currently on Texas, Thor. What play is there for you?
Yeah, this was one of my bets on the Sunday show, and a thing I bought a ticket on Sunday was Kansas State. I think I got 5 or 5.5, something like that. Numbers coming down to where it should be. The opener was bad when it opened at 6.5, something like that. My line on this game, like I'm mentioning, it coming down to reality right now is Texas by 4. So we're right in line with that. But I feel like this is a really good spot for Kansas State here to potentially make a bid for an upset. Malik Murphy, last game against BYU, they had restrictor plates on him. They weren't letting him do very much. We'll see if they open it up here against Kansas State. But Kansas State has a pretty good defense. So, you know, I don't know how that would end up working out. Jonathan Brooks is in play here for, you know, you're looking at player props. He would be the one Texas offensive player I'm confident in. Texas 13th in rushing marginal explosiveness. That's the bugaboo of Kansas State's defense at 114th. But you can take advantage of Kansas State a little bit through the air with the efficiency stuff. It's just, I don't know that Malik Murphy can provide it. He certainly wasn't against BYU. You also have here the immovable force against the whatever the other thing would be, where the immovable force with the Kansas State rushing offense, which is, you know, objectively top 10 in the nation qualitatively, against the Texas run defense, which you can say the same about. Whoever wins in that one-off, they will win this game outright, I believe. I think Kansas State is live here. If you're still getting 4, I would still fire at 4.
And that's what was on the Betting Pros app. If people want to check that out, bettingpros.com, you can check the odds. That has all the books, and you can check where the best are. Now, I did say that the cash was on Texas, just barely. Tickets, a little bit more in favor of Texas, but heavy percentage of cash and tickets are on the under. So, Mike, outside of the spread, obviously, if you have a spread play, is there a total play that you like here? The money heavy on the under.
I'm on the under too. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think there's 2 sour defenses here. You know, Malik Murphy, we talked about him quite a bit on the Saturday show about what I saw in high school and what he is. And, you know, an unwilling runner, even though he's a pretty big and athletic kid. You know, I thought they would crowd the box and take away the run and they can throw a little bit more. And they didn't let him throw downfield very much at all. So, you know, Sark I think knows the limitations of his quarterback, and they'll need to try to hold up the run game. So I see a slower pace game from Texas. Kansas State, doesn't play at a high pace either. So I'm looking at the under here. If I had to pick a side, though, I would take Kansas State, just because I think Texas is susceptible to an upset, potentially with their homer on the road. Because Quinn Ewers, I think there's a discernible difference between Quinn Ewers and Malik Murphy. And Arch Manning, we were hoping to see him at the end of the game when they were icing it to do that, but Arch isn't ready either. So give me Kansas State, but I'm leaning towards the under as my real play.
How would you, my college football fans, like to put your skills to the test? You can do so. Join the Betting Pros College Football Podcast betting group, and you can make your picks all season long. And if you're among the top ROI performers, you could win big prizes. We've got Garrett Wilson, Ohio State autographed jersey, premium subscriptions to Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. Check it out today. All you got to do is make 100 picks throughout the season to qualify. So if you're doing it now, you better get on it. Jump in now, bettingpros.com/college, or in the Betting Pros app under the College Football Podcast group. May the best better win. And you know what else to say? Even if you're not quite challenging in this time, go in and put your bets down, see how you are, and test yourself into next year. What better way? It's one of the hidden, awesome, sneaky tools about Betting Pros is even if you are uncomfortable about certain spots with your money, let's see how you would do, and then you can get going with it. So check it out today on Betting Pros. Next game up, we've got Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Best odds currently got Ole Miss as a 3-point favorite, cash and tickets. They're on A&M, though. So, Thor, where is your play? What are you liking out of this game?
Yeah, little surprise this one came down since the opener. The opener was right in line with where my number is. My number is Ole Miss minus 4.2. But yeah, that money in the days since Monday and Tuesday, it's pulled the line towards A&M. Before I was more on the fence. Now I'm going more towards the Ole Miss side. I don't love this matchup for Texas A&M. Like, you can throw a bit on Ole Miss, but we've talked, speaking of restrictor plays, which I was mentioning with Malik Murphy, Max Johnson has had those clamped on, both just, from his own game, like the way he plays is sort of risk averse, but also the way Bobby Petrino is calling plays as well. They've just become more conservative. Can you keep up if the Ole Miss train starts, or the Ole Miss rock starts going downhill, they start scoring points, the tempo stuff, and then Texas A&M has to get back in the game, whatever, through throwing? That's one thing that I question after having seen Max Johnson here these last couple weeks. He's not going to do anything debilitating to destroy your odds of winning, but he's also, in a game like this, I don't know if he gives you sort of the sidearm piece that you need in a gunfight here. If this number's down to 3, I'm on Ole Miss.
Mike, what do you think? What's your play here, if totals or sides?
I'm on Ole Miss too. Texas A&M pretty good against the run. They got a good front, and then Ole Miss likes to run the football. But I think this is a situation where if Ole Miss does fall behind, they have no way to get back. And if they fall down by 10, it's going to get worse for them. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but that offense is bad. Jimbo came out last week, said, I don't know why our offense is bad. Well, Will and Petrino are, working together to call this offense. And I can tell you why it's bad. You've got amazing playmakers and you're not utilizing them. I mean, Anaya Smith is fast as heck. He's an elite player. You even got a big tight end that's related to the quarterback, and these balls aren't stretching the field at all. It's very conservative. Everybody can keep you in front. So Ole Miss can't defend against the pass. Well, they can against Texas A&M, but you're not going to throw the ball downfield. So give me Ole Miss in this one. I think they, eventually wear down the A&M front. Win this one maybe by 7 to 10.
Let's move over to Notre Dame Clemson. This one is interesting. Notre Dame is a 3-point favorite. They're on the road. They're at Clemson. Even though it's kind of a close number, we've got pretty definitive, at least from where the cash and the tickets are as we're recording this, definitively Notre Dame and the under. It's pretty heavy on all sides of that, tickets and cash. So, Thor, what do you think about this? I believe we talked about this one on the Sunday early line look. I don't recall if there was a whole lot of change. So where are you at on this game?
Yeah, Notre Dame for me. That 3 number I think is pretty juicy there as far as that goes, and I probably lean the under as well. But yeah, I like Notre Dame in the handicap. Just objectively, the better team. They can do more things to beat you. I like their defense. SP plus Notre Dame 6 defense, Clemson 9, and obviously the discrepancy is bigger on offense. 19 for Notre Dame, 32nd against Clemson. I don't even know if Clemson's would be 32nd qualitatively for me. But yeah, like, and then, again, like late game scenario, if you need Cade Klubnik and that Clemson offense to now drive you down the field in order to pull ahead, or if you need it for a cover, a backdoor cover, I don't know about that against this Notre Dame defense, especially an awesome Notre Dame pass defense, 8th in passing success rate on defense for Notre Dame, 7th in marginal explosiveness, 4th in opposing completion rate allowed. Notre Dame pass defense, very, very good. They also can slow down your running game, of course. Can Will Shipley hit any long ones on Notre Dame? Notre Dame has shown a propensity to give up some explosive runs. They're 87th in that metric, but Clemson's offense is only 65th. The Notre Dame offense matches up better with the Clemson defense than vice versa. It's a better team. I'm going with Notre Dame in this one.
Mike, are these a bunch of squares? Everything's heavy on Notre Dame, heavy on the under. What do you think?
Everything does point towards Notre Dame here. I'm going to go the opposite of what everything logically I'm thinking equals. It's a 4-4 Clemson team. They're not very good. Davos fighting with fans on his radio show and going viral with this little defensiveness and, making good points. I mean, he actually, Tyler from Spartanburg got absolutely destroyed, as he should, but still, I mean, it's a 4-4 team, and Dabo can talk about 10 plus winning seasons and 2 national championships, all this other stuff. But still, they're at home and they're getting 3, and it's Clemson. I know this isn't Clemson from, Deshaun Watson's days and Trevor Lawrence's days, and Cade Klubnik's far from that. The offense doesn't look good, but I just think pride is going to play a factor here. At least I'm gambling on it. So I'm going to take the 3 points. I'm going to take Dabo rallying his troops for a big victory here, or at least a cover. Something about this just tells me that despite the matchup disadvantages that Clemson has, at home, after all this garbage, Dabo is going to get this team running and we're going to pull an upset. It's just a hunch. It's like not really good gambling logic. It's just a hunch. I would lean under too. I think it's going to be sort of a run-oriented football game, but I'm taking Clemson.
All right, I like it. Some dissent. All right, let's move through next game up here. We've got Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma is an 8-point favorite. Now, we've got tickets and cash on Oklahoma State, which is pretty significant on Oklahoma State on the plus money here. But the under, as far as cash goes, is hardcore, but it's split on the ticket. So we're still maybe waiting for, there's not a line that hasn't hit. There's waiting for some big money, some big cash, some big tickets. Everything is going down. But Thor, what do you think here? Oklahoma State. I'm seeing different lines everywhere because I'm also seeing 5.5 line, but I saw one of the best lines on Betting Pros out there at, what did I tell you guys? At 8. So what do you think on this?
Yeah, we got some discrepancy. I got an Oklahoma ticket on Sunday. I think it was at 6.
Oh, that's the opening line. I'm sorry, opening line. It is 5.5 right now. You can get a +6 in Oklahoma State. It was the opening line that was 8. My apology.
Well, maybe I should have waited, but I still do like Oklahoma. I'm surprised that. Well, maybe I shouldn't be surprised. So many people are on Oklahoma State. I mean, the one trepidation I have here is that Bedlam games have been played pretty close, and we have seen upsets in this series. But what I like about Oklahoma, in this game is you're able to buy low, about as low on a price as you're going to get on Oklahoma coming off that loss against Kansas, and you're selling way, way high on Oklahoma State following this 4-game winning streak that they're on. And you can do them in conjunction of each other. So basically, you're getting the line value there. If it's beneath the touchdown, certainly if it's beneath 6, that's a fire point for me. You look at the matchup. So the guy who really has spurred Oklahoma State's turnaround is the running back. They have Ollie Gordon, who's really, really good. You look at some of the game logs, just ludicrous numbers that he's putting up. The problem for Oklahoma State here is Oklahoma has a really, really good run defense. So Oklahoma's run defense, 20th success rate. They're 7th in opportunity rate, number 1 in stuff rate, 37th marginal efficiency. That Oklahoma State offense, they are number 1 in rushing marginal explosiveness. But again, you're running into a really, really good run defense in this game. Now, I know that Kansas last week ran on Oklahoma. You don't have to remind me of that. I'm the world's foremost Jayhawk fan. I will remind people, though, that game was played in a quasi-monsoon where they had to then do the I shouldn't say that. That might be a bit overstating it. But, in driving rain for large portions of it and where they had the lightning delay and whatnot, I don't know if that was what the Kansas players had better grip on the turf. I'm not really sure. Oklahoma's run defense obviously played down in that game, but prior to that have been very, very good. I at least think that they can prevent Ollie Gordon from just the usual, I'm going over 200 again. That sort of a thing. And that would put a ton of pressure on Alan Bowman and what is not a very sexy Oklahoma State passing offense to keep pace with the Oklahoma offense. And I think this is a really good matchup for Oklahoma's offense. Oklahoma, they like to pass. Last week, they didn't. We talked about that on the Sunday show. It was weird that they were staying away from the air. My theory on that was that it was because of the rain, perhaps because of Dylan Gabriel's hands, that he wasn't getting a good grip on it because the wind wasn't whipping around enough where they should have skewed their game plan that far, especially because Kansas's pass defense can be had. But in this game, Oklahoma's passing offense, despite that down game, they're still sixth passing success rate, fifth marginal efficiency, 52nd explosion, seventh in completion percentage. Same categories for the Oklahoma State passing defense, 53rd, 64th, 127th out of 133, and 57th. So Oklahoma is definitely going to be able to pass on Oklahoma State here, perhaps hit some long ones through the air. That Nick Anderson kid is going to have to step up. The kid who's been playing for Andrel Anthony is taking a bigger role since then. He's going to have to step up because Oklahoma State does allow those big plays through the air. And I think they can run on Oklahoma State a little bit as well. So the Oklahoma offense, I think, has a big bounce back week. And if Oklahoma's defense can do anything to slow Ollie Gordon, I just don't think Alan Bowman and crew are going to be able to keep up.
Mike, what do you think? We've seen this number come down a decent amount from open, and we've seen some discrepancy on the over-under. Where are you thinking on this game?
Yeah, that would be a lot more suffice and quicker in this because this is Bedlam. This is the last Bedlam. Oklahoma State's going to want to send Oklahoma out with a bad taste in the mouth. I think Oklahoma is starting to be exposed a little bit. I mean, they should have, maybe not should have, but could have lost to UCF team. It's not very good at all. Kansas is a very good football team, but not great. Maybe not top 10, caliber victory. Great. They were able to run the ball in East Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma State's going to be able to run the ball as well. I just have a feeling if you're going to give me the points in the last Bedlam game, I'm going to take them, and I think Oklahoma State takes this game. Maybe outright. I'm not going to bet the money line here. I'm going to just take the points and go with Oklahoma State. I am counting on the fact that they'll be able to run the football. Alan Bowman's not good. Their passing offense is not good, but I also think there's going to be some turnovers. And I think this is an Oklahoma team that's starting to question itself a little bit after a close win against a bad team and a loss.
All right, we're going to move over to Georgia, who I did double check is a 15.5-point favorite. We got Missouri as a Mississippi, Missouri and Georgia. Tickets and cash on Missouri right now. 15.5 is the number. Thor, what do you like from this? Is that too big of a line for you? That's why everyone's betting on Missouri right now, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah. Not big enough for me. On the Sunday show when this thing opened, it was 16 or 16.5, I forget, but I was hoping and praying for the 17 to hit, and it just didn't get there, and it's coming the other way. Luckily, it was in that kind of dead zone, so some of this line movement the other way don't really matter, till we get to 14. Then it really matters, if you're interested, in that, whatever. But I wanted Missouri plus 17, or ideally 17.5. But like I said, it doesn't appear that it's going to get there. That probably makes this a stay away for me, honestly. If later this week more money comes in on Georgia and I can get that 17, that's when I pop Missouri. But at that number, I had to stay away. Just my trepidation becomes Missouri's trump card, where they've beaten some of these. It's their passing offense. Their passing offense really, really good. Their offensive coordinator super respected. Brady Cook has obviously taken a step forward this year. And then they have the stud receivers, in particular, Luther Burden, who's probably going to be a first-round pick whenever he comes out. The Missouri, they've lit up some of these, South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, Memphis, Vanderbilt. LSU has the awful defense, 113th SP plus. That was Vanderbilt, 47th, I guess, for LSU, which is I feel like flattering them. But anyway, some of these teams they've lit up have not been very good with their pass defense. Georgia most certainly is. Georgia's pass defense, 6th in success rate, 3rd marginal efficiency, 11th in suppressing explosiveness. That's what this game's going to come down to. Can that elite Georgia pass defense put the clamps at all or slow down the Missouri elite passing offense? Because if they can, Georgia has enormous advantages in every single other facet of this game. That is Missouri's one path here is to, through the air. And they're going up against one of the best pass defenses we have in America. So unless that 17 and a half comes, I'll probably be staying away from this one.
Mike, are you going to stay away? Do you like to take, would you be comfortable with Missouri on the points right now? Is this a Georgia hit or is this a stay away like Thor?
This is a tough one because Georgia's starting to become the team that we've seen over the last couple of years when it comes to just sort of starting to steamroll people, play more physical. Their defense is improving. Carson Beck is obviously proven to be legit. Brock Bowers wasn't overly missed last week, and I think they can work around that. But 15 and a half is a lot. I mean, Missouri obviously played Georgia tough. And they can do that again, I think, with their ability to rush the passer, to have to throw on offense. We know that. I think they can do that effectively, not to the point where they won't, pull an upset. But this one, it seems to me like you're down 3 touchdowns and score a late cheapie to make this a 14-point game. So I'm going to take the points of Missouri and just hope they cover.
All right, Penn State is going to Maryland. Penn State is a 9.5-point favorite. When we are looking at some of the money, we've got cash on Penn State. We've got tickets on Maryland, but we both got overs. No, it's not dramatic on the tickets and cash, but it's enough that we can both hit the overs on this. Thor, do you like the over? And do you like Penn State on, I don't know, we talked about this on the early line. I just felt like, was this still too low of a line on Penn State? What do you think?
Yeah, my system would have a slight lean towards the over. It's hard for me to get there after watching the Penn State offense and Maryland's performance last week against a Northwestern team that we came into the season thinking could be one of the worst FBS teams we'd seen the last couple of years. Certainly not inspiring coming off that thing either. My line this one now, Penn State minus 8.9 with the market. I guess we're at 10 right now, right? So I
got best line at 9.5, but there are 10.
9.5. Yeah, this one's going to be a stay away for me. We talk about these two teams. They're both coming off such uninspiring performances. It would be hard for me to back Penn State after what I've seen the last couple of weeks. It's also hard for me to just bank on Maryland bouncing back after that travesty against Northwestern last weekend. So, and my number fairly close to the Vegas numbers. So it's probably going to be a pass for me. And with the over, like I said, my system would have a slight lean towards it. But the Penn State offense is just like, I don't know what they're doing. Is Drew Allar? In my head, I always Drew Allar.
It's Aller. Drew. I always said Allar out of high school, and you corrected me, and I still got it wrong. But it's
Aller. Okay, we'll get better at that one. Is he just Christian? We'll just call him Christian Hackenberg 2.0. Is that what this situation is? Like what this thing has devolved into? Like this kid was crazy hyped, and they won't throw down the field with him. And on the few occasions when they do, a ball will clang off a receiver's hands if it happens to be accurate. They have all kinds of issues, and the running game comes and goes. Even though you love Singleton, Allen's a really good back too. And the offensive line is pretty good. So I don't know why the pieces aren't adding up here outside of Aller. I'll get closer to the pronunciation. Outside of him just sort of taking the thing down and not having much offensive imagination. But I also like the offensive coordinator's work over the last decade. So I'm really confused about what we're getting from Penn State. This is a long way to say I will be a spectator in this game.
Mike, what do you think? Where does this add up for you for this Penn State matchup?
Under. under. The Penn State offensive receivers are horrible. They can't get separation. They can't get open. They can't catch the ball when it hits them in the hands. Aller is a serviceable quarterback. He's a bit of a project, and Hackenberg is a great reference because Christian Hackenberg was a 5-star kid coming out of high school, ton of hype, blah, blah, blah. Now, he didn't have a ton of weapons because of the scandal at Penn State and scholarship reduction and all that stuff, but he also was, sort of a head-scratching talent. You're going to have amazing one game and not so great the next. That's Aller. So I think the under Maryland looks awful. We're kind of folded the fence here, but to me, this is going to be a low-scoring game because neither team I think is going to be able to throw the ball.
Well, I want you guys to use the Sportsbook Sync on Betting Pros. You got to download the app today, iOS or Android. With Sportsbook Sync, you can automatically track your bets across all major sports books in one spot. Easily track your best performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and parlays. You can get personalized bet recommendations tailored to your interests, including line alerts. So when viewing a game of interest, simply set a game notification so that you're alerted once a line hits a certain number. And at that point, you'll be notified so you can lock in your bet at the ideal line. Head over to bettingpros.com/apps to start setting your line alerts now, or download the Betting Pros app on iTunes or the Google Play Store today. Again, the Betting Pros app, get that locked in. An amazingly amount of awesome tools for you. Let's get going. Let's get going with Kansas. Kansas at Iowa State. Iowa State is a 2.5-point favorite. Thor, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Just go.
Well, yeah. I mean, Rock Chalk forever for the upset win. But yeah, I think I think we might be headed for the opposite story this weekend. You come off that jubilant win. Now you have to go to Ames. Yeah, you have to play. I think this is a night game. Night games at Ames have been house of horrors for the Big 12 for the last decade, no matter how good Iowa State is. And this Iowa State team has been ascending. At the beginning of the season, there was some wonky stuff going on, and the one fan was yelling at Campbell after that. I think it was after the Ohio game they lost, and Campbell was snipping back at him, and you thought the wheels were going to come off. But like right at that point where it was like Campbell was like sort of careening off the cliff, he has managed to steer this thing, turn it all the way around. And now they appear to be headed in the right direction. They're playing very, very good football, and they're a bad stylistic matchup for Kansas. Last week, we talked all week about why Kansas was a good stylistic matchup facing Oklahoma and the stuff they could do to discombobulate that Oklahoma defense and different stuff like that. And that ended up coming to fruition. This one, I think the Iowa State defense is going to be ready for some of the machinations of Kolanecki, the Kansas offense. I got to get better with my pronunciation, especially the Kansas offensive coordinator, because that guy's a stud. But the different stuff he does with the pre-snap motion and the play action, the RPO is like all the different stuff he does with that, and then targeting the side of the field where he has the numbers advantages. And Jason Bean is a solid quarterback, but no great shakes. But he's clearly being schemed up. You can see that in the Oklahoma game and stuff, away from some of the mistakes and to showcase his ability and whatnot. But I just don't think that this is the matchup for them. I feel like the market has a beat on this one. This line, since we talked about this on Sunday, has been moving towards Iowa State. I hate to say it as a Jayhawk fan, hope I'm wrong, but and I won't bet against Kansas, but if I had to bet this one, I'd be on Iowa State.
Mike, we have over 90% tickets and cash on Iowa State right now. We don't have cash numbers on the total, which is at 54, but the tickets are over 60% on the over. So we've got heavy over and heavy Iowa State. What say you?
I agree with Laura. I mean, this is a letdown game for Kansas. Not that Lance is going to let down, but it's just natural. I mean, you come up with people like that, and you go into a difficult atmosphere. I like the under. I don't know why all the points are the money on the over. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. But yeah, I think Kansas is not a great matchup here. Coming off a huge win, I'm not a big fan of Mr. Bean, as Laura knows. He's a serviceable guy, but this is a road atmosphere where he could make a couple mistakes. They scheme against mistakes, but in Ames you're going to make a couple. I think, especially this Iowa State team. Matt Campbell was on every job opening list that we were doing, and then he started having a really, really bad football season. And as you mentioned, he already got in a little shrouded match with the man. And something clicked, something changed. This became Iowa State what we're used to seeing under him. A scrappy, physical team, very well coached, good in-game adjustments and decisions and all the stuff that we love about Matt Campbell and the reason why he's been mentioned for every opening job. We're starting to see again. So this is two really good coaches. They're going to be scheming properly. They're going to be game planning properly. But I think a couple Mr. Dean turnovers here is going to lead Iowa State to cover this. And I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. So I go on.
All right, we got Pac-12 action. Washington is at USC. There's a lot of 3.5s, but the best line, according to Betting Pros, if you check it out, you can get a 3 out there. We've got a bunch of the cash and tickets, pretty much all on Washington at this point. The cash is on the under while tickets are on the over. So there's a little bit of discrepancy. That total line is 76.5. So I brought this one up. I was kind of poking with you on the Sunday look ahead show, Thor, that I don't know just how bad USC has been. And I know Washington has kind of played down and I don't know. Penix is just a thing. I looked at this line and I just thought this should be bigger on Washington, but I know there's been a little bit of a play down on Washington's side as well. But Thor, what say you? It's all on Washington on the betting side. Do you want to disagree?
I mean, I would lean Washington if the number is at 3. I feel like, though, that's a good number. My line is 3 on that game. So it would be hard for me to pay a higher price than that. But I am back in USC. You look at the on-field matchup of this one. Washington's defensive strength by far is their pass defense. And you have to tip your cap to them because their pass defense was terrible last year. That was the one part of the team that had really fallen off. They had lost a bunch. Jimmy Lake was thing he was able to do.
They stayed healthy this year. That's the big difference. I mean, they had stayed healthy this year. 7.
Yeah.
So good on them to stay healthy because they're a different team when they get.
Washington's pass defense, 32nd success rate, 33rd marginal explosive, and 36th suppressing completion percentage. That's the one that's going up against Caleb Williams. So that's what you prefer to be your strength. You can run all day on Washington's defense. So I would suggest probably the overs on Marshawn Lloyd in this game. But Washington defense might be able to make things a little bit difficult for Caleb Williams. It just becomes about, can USC's defense do to Penix and the Washington offense, can they, to any semblance of a degree to what we've seen the last couple of weeks, where that offense has greatly come down. They're not putting the points up. They're not getting the yards. They're turning the ball over way more. This should be a get right game for them. Although USC, they don't. It's hard to. I'm putting this in bunny air quotes for anyone listening on the pod. Their relative strength on defense is their pass defense. USC's 38th passing success rate. You can get them for the explosive stuff, though, 96th in explosion. Washington, those two categories, is second in the nation and 34th. You can also you can run a lot more on USC, 100th in success rate, 88th in marginal explosiveness. Washington can run the ball. It'll be interesting to see if they lean a little bit more into that in this one, at least at the outset. Dylan Johnson's been playing pretty well. The transfer they got from Mississippi State. Maybe try to lean into that soft front of USC's. But for me, if the number is 3, certainly if it's less, the play for me would be on Washington. I'll probably be a bystander, though, if it's above that.
Yeah, there's only one book I see that's got 3, according to Betting Pros. The rest are 3.5. So, Mike, when you look at this, if you're Washington, is 3.5 enough to stay away? If you're USC better, 3.5 is something maybe you want to jump on quick before that maybe pops back down. But I don't know. Where are you at on this game? It's also a really big total.
I mean, if you get it at 3, obviously you want to. 3.5 is a little tricky here, but I don't think this is going to be a field goal game. I'm leaning Washington here. I know they've struggled the last couple of weeks. Somebody's figured out something to slow down the offense a little bit, which we thought was impossible to slow down. I mean, they're just putting up record numbers. USC is not going to follow that script. They're just not. They don't have the ability to do so. The defense is horrible. Grinch is an awful game planner. He's an awful in-game adjustment guy. He's just an oral defensive coordinator. He's been on a downslide of his career since Ohio State. I don't know why Lincoln Riley's on the USC. I don't know why he keeps him employed. I think this is going to make Washington right on offense. I'm leaning towards that over too. I mean, I know it's a huge number, but USC can't stop anybody. And if Washington can put up big numbers like they did previously to these last couple of games, USC is going to put up big numbers. I mean, they're going to come marching back. And we saw how quickly they could score. I know it's against Cal, but they can get on the board real quick when they're desperate. So I'm leaning towards Washington. And if you want to, parlay action, go over, because I don't think many people think it's going to go high, but I think it's going to be a very, very high score.
All right, we've got LSU at Alabama. Alabama is a 3-point favorite. Cash, LSU. Tickets, Bama, everybody over. That's what everybody wants to play over. Total 60.5 I'm seeing. So Thor, I'm trying to remember where we were on this one. I feel like you hated everything about all of this.
Well, I hated the idea that I might have to place a bet on Alabama. And now the market is, I feel like the market is really forcing my hand. It would become my first bet on Alabama this season, but like I said, I feel like the market's forcing my hand, bringing this thing down to 3. I think when we talked about it on Sunday, I think what was it, 4?
Yeah, I think one of the funny things too, I think we noted that this was the first time the entire season there was line value on Alabama, the entire season, according to your system.
Yeah, it's crazy that sort of the 180 people have done on LSU. I mean, to this degree, we're now my line, about Alabama minus 6.5, and then this thing being down to a field goal. I don't know, like I love the LSU offense as much as the next guy. I love it. It's just I've watched their defense, and it's awful. And Alabama's going to be able to do Alabama things to it. Both running the ball, they're certainly going to be able to establish that. Alabama's sieve of an offensive line is not going to be tested in this game because LSU's front isn't very good. So you'll be able to run on them. And then the other thing is the passing game for Alabama, of course, it leaves stuff to be desired. But Milroe has shown, and I'll tip my cap to him, I didn't think he was even going to get to this point ever in his career. He's shown an aptitude for hitting some of those downfield shots, and some of the receivers have stepped up in that regard. Alabama now 23rd in marginal explosiveness passing. They're sort of middle of the pack in a lot of the other passing categories in the FBS, but they can hit those downfield shots. LSU, their passing defense, 110th. In that. And of course, the LSU run defense is terrible, terrible, terrible. So then it just becomes, how can Alabama's defense, can they put the clamps on LSU's or slow it down at all? LSU's offense, number 3 SP plus. Alabama's defense is number 6 SP plus. Alabama has a pretty well-rounded defense. I feel like, especially in terms of the efficiency, number 4 success rate, number 9 3-and-out percentage. They're probably not going to be forcing many 3-and-outs in this one, but I think they can slow it down just enough where I'm not sure that LSU is going to be doing anything to stop Alabama's offense, because the things that Alabama does well on offense, LSU stinks at defending those things. So I'm going to trust Alabama's defense a little bit more here going up against the juggernaut offense. Alabama defense quite good itself. I'm going to take the Crimson Tide in this one.
Yeah, Mike, we got a pretty, close spread overall. Is that something you're going to want to attack, or is there a total that feels better?
No, I'm going to go Alabama here too. I mean, I believe it was with taping. It's Nick Saban, the great Nick Saban's 72nd birthday, I believe. Kudos to him for reaching 72 and for being the greatest football coach to ever put on sneakers, and it's not cleats. So
New Balance.
I'm just going to go with the better coach. I'm going to go with the team that is more balanced offensively. I know LSU's offense is great. I know they can put up big points, but their defense is so bad. They give up long pass plays, and that's what Jalen Mulvell could do. We always knew he was a downfield thrower. It's the intermediate stuff he's not very accurate at, and I think he will get better at that, by the way. Again, I keep saying, it's not that he's going to be Jalen Hurts in the NFL, but this is kind of a Jalen Hurts type of development. He's kid from Texas, athletic, can run, leads on that more early in his career, gets a little bit more proficient passing downfield, and then eventually gets the intermediate stuff a little bit better. He's not going to be Jalen Hurts in the NFL, but I think he can be that type of player, especially against an LSU defense. Well, it stinks, and he's going to be able to do some work with his feet as well. So offensively, LSU is great. I don't think they're quite as balanced as Alabama is, because Alabama's defense is good. They can stop the run, I believe. I think they're going to give up some, obviously, Jaden Daniels running plays, and they're going to be susceptible a little bit to the intermediate passing stuff. I like their secondary, but overall, I think, Alabama's balance of being able to run and throw downfield is going to be better against that horrible LSU defense than LSU's dynamic offense against the Alabama defense is pretty good. So give me Alabama. It's a long-winded way to say Nick Saban, happy birthday. And I just can't bet against them very often. I did it in the Texas game, and it felt wrong, and it worked, but it just felt wrong. So I'm back to just betting on Nick Saban. And if you did that over his career, we'd be living in a pretty good next house.
That'd be a fun bet. That'd be fun if someone stretched that out.
I mean, all right, Nick Saban bought me a house. I sold it, but I thank him for that. So
it'd be similar to the Christian McCaffrey. Like if you just rolled his anytime touchdown over this season, you'd be making bank.
What was that? Like 600 or 400?
Some absurd number.
Some ridiculous number. At 15 straight, just roll it over. But you got to go big to start. And then
just keep going.
And go big to start and roll it. Yeah, and that's, Nick Saban, if you did that from his first year, which is
someone out there has to do this for us, right?
If you did that, you'd be.
Someone's got to do this for us out there. Someone's got to tell us what that would be. So if you do, please, we will give you credit on the show. Final game, we've got Oregon State at Colorado. Always love a Colorado conversation here. This is similar to the one I talked about before. It's 13.5 everywhere except for one book. Again, go to bettingpros.com, check the odds. You can see which books you could try to take advantage. I don't know if 13 to 13.5, that's not really a hook situation we care about too much, but we have got lots of cash and tickets on Oregon State and a bunch on the under. So, Thor, we talked about, I think last week, we were back to some line value on Colorado. I don't know where I don't remember if we talked about this on Sunday. I don't think we did. Is there any line value on Colorado, as we have seen a lot this season, versus Oregon State?
Not this week. My line on this game is Oregon State minus 15. I think Oregon State is a play beneath 14. It hits 14. Certainly, if it gets above it, now that thing's getting hairy. But beneath 2 touchdowns, I think that thing is playable. Oregon State been a strange team for me to watch this year because the defense, which was so salty and led the Renaissance last year, it's actually fallen a bit this year. But the offense has surged. The Oregon State's offense, 12th SP plus, defense down to 35th. They still play really clean special teams, 16th. So they're doing it in all 3 phases. But it's weird to say this Oregon State team that their worst phase is their defense. But fortunately for them in this game, the reason it's down there and not, say 15 spots higher, it's because the run defense is horrible. Well, I mean, like they had lost the linebacker to LSU. They had lost some defenders over the season, but I don't think anybody expected this. Oregon State's run defense, 125th success rate, 129th power success rate, 119th in stuff rate. Well, that don't matter here. Colorado, they don't run the ball at all. Oregon State's pass defense is slightly above average FBS. Now, Colorado's going to move the ball on them for sure through the air, but it's going to be a one-handed thing. And again, you can't go at the Achilles heel of the Oregon State defense. That's just not how Colorado plays offense. And then on the other side, Oregon State is multiple. They can both run it on you. They can throw it on you. And fortunately for them, Colorado's defense is multiple in the inverse way, in that they will give you both. So they're going to be getting whatever they want here. This should be a big game for DJU. Colorado's pass defense, 128th in success rate, 126th in completion percentage allowed. DJU has lead that Beavers passing offense 26th in success rate, 30th in marginal explosiveness. Again, this number, if it's beneath 14, you have to lay, if you don't have to lay up to that, I would lay the 13.5 with Oregon State, or certainly less.
So the total is sitting at 62. Mike, God, I wouldn't ask you if you're going to bet on Colorado. So here's the ask. Nick Saban's not going to buy you a house, but will Oregon State buy you a house this weekend on how hard you slam Oregon State?
I'm not. I know it's not a house, but I'm going to slam Oregon State pretty hard here because, for a lot of reasons Thor mentioned, I mean, they can't stop the run, but Colorado, first of all, they can't run. They don't want to run. Honestly, I really don't think they want to run. And the offensive line stinks, and Deion called them out, and I'll get to that in a second. But I don't think they want to run. I'm becoming more and more convinced that this is a dad and not a coach. And I think he's like formulating this entire offense around his son, the quarterback. And you know, the whole theory that he was taking sacks to increase his completion percentage is kind of stupid. I mean, you're not going to put yourself at risk and do that. But the theory that some learned early is that, you know, Chigurh is going to put up massive numbers and be, you know, one of the leading passers in the nation because his dad wants him to. I think I'm buying into that now. And I also think the dumbest thing you can do as a coach is to call out and tell your offensive line mid-season, or at least a little bit beyond the season, that they're all gone.
That was a wild one.
We're going to get rid of you. We're going to replace you. So that now, I mean, okay, so some people think, oh, they're going to really step up because they were followed up public and now they're going to really, you know, no. If they're going to get frustrated, they're not going to try as hard. And when they do struggle, they're not going to fight for their coach because the coach threw them all at the bus. And they're certainly not going to fight for the guy flashing watches. That's the coach's son. So I think this is going to be starting to get real interesting in Colorado. This is a home game. You're not going to see a billion celebrities. You're not going to see college game day there. You're not going to see all the glitz, glamour, and all the other coverage that you saw. That you're going to have a team that I think can get after the passer and has to beat pass defense. They can't stop the run, but they can get after Chigurh, and the offensive line's getting the sieve. So I'm Collins and Oregon State here pretty good. I think this is going to be, I'm not going to say a beating because Colorado was actually covered quite a bit this season. They covered last week, if I remember correctly. It was 15. We started 17.5, went down to 15. But I think the comments, I think what people are starting to see is this is the Chigurh and Deion show. Jonathan's just a smart guy. He's going to drill this team.
All right. Well, I'm looking to make a house payment at least on this. So Oregon State, let's go. There you go. That's your Week 10 preview. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here on bettingpros.com/YouTube or youtube.com/bettingpros. Also on the podcast side. Thank you guys for hanging out. You can find both of these fine gentlemen on the Twitters at mfarrell sports 2Ls Thor KU. On Saturday, make sure you tune in 10 a.m. Eastern for the live stream. They're going to get you completely set. And then Thor, myself. Well, actually, this week I'm not, but it'll be Thor and Froton on Sunday getting you set for the early line for Week 11. So really, we got you covered here on Betting Pros podcast or YouTube side, whatever it is. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'm Chris Welsh on Twitter at IsItTheWelsh. And we will talk to you next time right here on Betting Pros. Bye, friends.